You're in the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Dave Lapham, as always, everything Bengals, he's got it. Today he was at practice, and Dave, everything was focused, and it always is focused since the day he was drafted number 1 by the team on Joe Burrow, and for good reasons. But today, a lot of excitement down at the stadium.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Dave. He addressed the media for the first time today in a group setting and handled himself as good as you would expect. I mean, he is a pro's pro, not only as a player, but in handling media relations as such as well. And, he mentioned, I asked him, is today going to be the first day that you participate in 11-on-11 team portion of drills? And he said, yep. He had gone in the 7-on-7 part of it like we had talked about before, but he took a good number of snaps in the team portion and performed very, very well. I think he was something like 8 for 11. Hit Jamar Chase for a couple of touchdown passes. They tried to all-out blitz him, a zero blitz, and he hit Tyler Boyd down the middle, working against Mike Hilton in one-on-one coverage for a touchdown bomb. So he's, remember, famously said last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they tried to zero blitz him and rattle him a little bit, and he calmly took it apart for a touchdown, and he said, going to the sideline, you can't zero blitz me. You can't zero blitz me. And that's he proved it again in today's practice. So he threw the ball very, very well. There's no question about it. I mean, his arm strength isn't quite what it was before the surgery, as you would expect, but it's darn close. And he's his accuracy is still unbelievable. He's putting the ball pretty much where he wants to in tight spaces. There's no doubt about that. I asked him during the presser the fact that what you have to be careful of a little bit, I would imagine, would be if you feel any kind of problem throwing the football, that you alter your mechanics, and therefore, if you start to do things a little bit different with your throwing motion, you're going to hurt something else. And he said, yeah, exactly. That's why, take if you feel like you're ready, almost take another day, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to alter your mechanics. You want to make sure that you stay very, very firm in your execution of those mechanics, because you don't want to change your throwing motion. You don't want to get in bad throwing habits, and as a result of that, maybe cause an issue to your shoulder or elbow or whatever the case may be. So he's done a really good job of that. And during the course of practice and 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 and individual periods, he's throwing off platform and making those awkward throws, which really puts a lot of stress on those abdominal muscles and those core muscles. And that's what he talked about in the presser, is that the surgery, they basically, abdominal muscles take a beating. Even in the scope procedure, they have to go through those abdominal muscles. So, like we talked about very early on, he's changed his throwing motion with that mid-torso torque to increase that zip on the football, and it's been very, very good to him and very, very promising in terms of what he can put up for numbers, and he doesn't want to change from that. So, like Chris Sims was talking about, that throwing motion instead of the over-the-top, more of a like a side-to-side motion that increases his velocity, puts a good torque on that body. So he doesn't want to change any of that, and he hasn't. And I think patience has paid off as far as he's concerned and as far as the team's concerned. But he definitely had an issue with that appendix. He said that it ruptured, rupture, perforation, whatever you want to call it. Basically, bad stuff got out. I mean, poison got out. And you didn't want to get septic. So with the fact that he went through the surgery and he's had the antibiotics, the amount of antibiotics that he had to have in his system to make sure that it didn't get septic, and he said he was in the hospital for a while just laying around recuperating. So obviously hasn't been able to do much in the weight room or any kind of strength training or any kind of throwing or whatever the case may be. So the fact that he's doing what he's doing is quite remarkable. And like I said, boy, he was 8 for 11, and it wasn't dinks and dunks. I mean, he was getting the ball down the football field. He was hitting some pretty good passes in terms of stretching the field. So it was good to see all that. Other things that took place at training camp, the battle that's going on between Jackson Carman and Cordell Volson was raging on. I mean, they were basically almost alternating every 2 plays. as the guard, as the left guard in that in their battle to secure that starting spot. Jackson Carman basically hyperextended his elbow in the second play of the game in the preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals, and that's why he missed practice in the early part of the week. This to start this week off, the New York Giants preparation week. So he's back at practice though, and he realizes he's in a battle. So it's going to be very interesting. I think that Frank Pollack for this Giants game, it's going to be, maybe alternating by quarter, because if you try to alternate by series, if one guy gets a 3-and-out and another guy gets a 9-play touchdown drive, that's not quite fair. So now you have to get off that alternating series pattern and try to even up staff. So I think almost on a quarter-by-quarter basis, it wouldn't surprise me if they split duty that way. I mean, it's a coin toss. I think right now it's anybody's ball game at that left guard position. So consistency is going to be the key, like we talked about from Jump Street. You know, a coach wants to be able to feel like no matter what the situation, there's not going to be a big deviation of performance in terms of, you know, the very, very high and the low, low, low in terms of execution. It has to be at a decently high level and not deviate from that. And the player that shows the best ability to do that on the most consistent basis in terms of percentage of plays is going to get that starting left guard job. So that one's going to be a good one to monitor. There's no question about it. Joe Burrow also in that team portion. Hendrickson got a good rush off the edge, and it would have been a sack in the game, but Joe, he basically spun out to his left like we've seen him do, and moved to his left and snapped his shoulder pads around and squared up and threw the ball down the football field to Jamar Chase, which was good to see that. Good to see that movement and all of that sort of thing, considering what he's gone through with respect to the injury. So I think this New York Giants game, I think there's not going to be any game planning going on. There's no question about that. I think defenses that Lou Anarumo calls are going to be very, very basic, and he's going to just want to evaluate player talent and see how players apply their techniques and their rules to maybe different things that the New York Giants are going to do. They're not going to be putting game defensive configurations in to stop specific formations and plays and all that sort of thing. They just want to see who can perform as a football player, one-on-one against the guy that he's against. And then if something unusual pops up, you know, okay, how can he apply the rules that they've implemented and apply that to his assignment, and who's going to come out and do the right thing, and coaches can definitely trust that player during the course of a football game. Because I'll tell you from experience, during the course of any game in the National Football League, you're going to see something shooting prep for during the week. They're going to come up with some kind of wrinkle, some kind of new design, some kind of new configuration that you have to be able to handle, and you have to just apply your rules, your base rules, and operate with sound technique and get it done. And that's the bottom line. So I think as far as offense is concerned, they're not game planning for this game either. They're just going to go through the installation process or whatever plays that they want to see on tape against the Giants defenses that they may be running, because as we know, this Giants defense will be very, very aggressive in terms of blitz percentages, but they're not game planning as such against specific blitzes. They're just going to see how players adapt and adjust to that. And then this is something that the coaches will do. They'll take this tape and they'll say, okay, well, this play looked pretty effective against this defense. If we run this personnel grouping with the exact same play, how will that affect the defense? And so, you kind of, add on and expand your offensive playbook based on things that you've tested on base defenses and other looks in the preseason. So there's a lot of that type of thing, I think, going on in this preseason game number 2 as well. Again, like we've talked about a myriad of times now, these two practices against the Los Angeles Rams are going to be big. They're going to get all kinds of situations covered that they didn't get covered in the preseason games. You can't cover every situational aspect of football in a couple of preseason games that you want to. You can't get that many reps at it, and they're going to be able to get that done against a high-quality defensive front that is put together well and that has good talent. So this would be really, really good, a test in terms of where the Bengals are and what they're trying to get done against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a couple of weeks down the road. Collins was not at practice today. He had a personal issue that he had to take care of, so he wasn't even there getting mental reps. So hopefully that'll be rectified and taken care of, and he'll be back in the building and out on the practice field tomorrow. And my hope is that against the LA Rams, the entire first and projected first offensive line, and I don't know who's going to line up at that left guard spot, in a perfect world, Frank Pollack, after this Giants game, will be able to say, all right, I feel like this so-and-so, whoever that may be, is going to be the guy that I want to see first at that left guard position against the Rams. My projected starter, have Collins and either Volson or Carman, Karras, everybody working the number one side by side on a snap by snap basis, and including Collins at the right tackle position, because you're working against a very good defensive unit that is schemed well. You can work stunts, twists and stunts in the run game and the passing game. The offensive line has to be able to recognize, communicate how to pick it up, and then physically go about getting it done. Hopefully that first group will be able to line up on a high percentage of snap basis with each other, because they haven't done that yet, other than a few times during the course of practice when Collins has been available. So that's going to be a big deal to me when the Rams come to town. How much of that offensive line will be intact, and how many good reps are they going to get under their belt over that two-day period against the Rams, Dave? And with that pretty much there wasn't a change in the roster. The Bengals they waived the cornerback, and they brought another cornerback in. They brought in a corner. He was wearing number 38 out there today. His name is Janaris Davis, and they waived Buki Radley Hiles. So they made a change at the cornerback position, and that's the roster is going to be tweaked as people get let go, and final rosters are determined. It'll be in flux on the back end of that roster, and we'll see how they line up and for how long they line up against the New York Giants out there on the East Coast in a few days.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. How about checking out the top team in logistics, First Star Logistics? They are looking for account executives that are motivated professionals for a sales position. They give you paid training, salary, commission. So if you're looking for a fun work environment and a place with unlimited earning potential, make sure to go to firststarlogistics.com. Dave, I have to ask, if we were in a different era, we'd be comparing Joe Burrow to a Timex watch, but we're in the smartwatch era. He seems to just take a licking and keeps on ticking. And are you surprised by how quickly he's back into the mode of being into camp?
No, I actually, with him, it's like we talked about before. This guy has dealt with adversity, and I asked, what was tougher on you, the knee or the appendix? He goes, by far the knee. There's no doubt about that, and I expected, that to be the answer. But you look at him dealing with that knee injury, torn ACL, and other damage that was done to that knee. And then there was COVID. Took time away from him. He has not had your very smooth, normal, every off season prepping for a regular season in the National Football League. He hasn't had one smooth one yet, and this is going into his third year in the National Football League. And look at the numbers that he still put up. So this guy, one of the things that impresses me most about him is how he handles adversity, and I think that's a big trait to be able to have in a positive way, because that's all it is in the National Football League, is dealing with adversity. Whether it's on a play, on a series, in a quarter, you can't let one bad quarter turn into two bad quarters turn into three. You just have to have a bounce back to you. And Joe Burrow has an unbelievably enormous ability to bounce back from adversity, and he's shown it over and over again. on the football field, off the football field, in the operating room, in the rehabilitation facility. I mean, wherever it is, Joe Burrow has bounced back.
We talk about injuries, and the thing is, when we talk about a player being injured, sometimes we forget to talk about that opens the door of opportunity for another player to step forward. And one of the guys that I thought stepped forward against the Cardinals, and I'm interested in seeing how he does against the Giants, is Justin Rigg, the tight end out of Springboro, Ohio, and the University of Kentucky. I have a chance to cover him during his high school career at Springboro and watch what he did at UK. I thought he had an exceptional game against the Cardinals for a kid who basically, I don't think his strong suit is as so far a pass catching threat, but I think he's a major ability to block at the line of scrimmage. And really, what we've seen, injuries at the tight end position may have opened the door for this young man to show the Bengals and maybe another NFL team what he can do.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said after the football game, almost verbatim. I mean, that's the exact same opinion I had after watching him play. At 6'7", 260 pounds, he was very, very effective in his blocking and pass protection. They used him a little bit at the end of the line of scrimmage to help the tackles in the slow block in terms of protection, and show the ability to move his feet and to slide real well. And he's a very powerful guy putting his hand in the dirt at the end of the line of scrimmage. He wasn't utilized much, in routes and in receiving the football. But yeah, I mean, they've got issues in terms of the tight end position. There's no two ways about it. Hurst he's not going to play, and Sample is not going to play in the preseason because of that knee injury that he sustained. So they're light at that tight end position, and there are snaps there that are available. And not only that, but you've got high ankle sprain to a third tight end in that position group. So man, you're on fumes in terms of number of guys that can play. So he's got a chance, and what you have to do to get your opportunity in the National Football League is when snaps present themselves to you, and you don't wish any ill fate to any of your teammates in terms of injury. You don't wish that upon anybody. But if that does happen and it occurs, and you get a chance to go out there and perform, you got to just say, all right, here it is. I'm going and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get after this right now. And this kid is built that way, both mentally and physically. So it's going to be interesting to see, how he does take advantage of snaps that come his way. And he's obviously, and like we've talked about many times, Dave, it's not just with the Cincinnati Bengals. It doesn't work out with the Bengals, with the injuries. And Wilcox is the tight end that has that high ankle sprain, and it's going to limit him. Mitchell Wilcox won't be playing for a little while as well. If it doesn't work out with the Cincinnati Bengals for some reason, 31 other teams in other leagues like the XFL and the USFL and the Canadian Football League. I mean, this kid is a specimen physically. He should be playing somewhere. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. But again, 1 week is not a career make. You have to go out and do it again and again and again. You can't be a one-hit wonder. And that's what, everybody realizes that, particularly young guys trying to make the football team. So now he knows that what he has to do is a repeat performance that is at least at the level that he performed at against the Arizona Cardinals, and maybe up the ante a little bit against the New York Football Giants. We shall see.
He's Dave Lapham. You've been in the trenches, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Please take the time to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and also hit the like button. That helps us get the algorithm with YouTube and get more people to find out of what Dave does weekly. He works his tail off. So Dave, again, appreciate you taking the time after a busy day. And to everybody out there listening, we appreciate it. Have a good day.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.